U.S. officials have announced President Trump will likely make a stop in China in November. He came out today and said regarding increased sanctions on North Korea, it's something, but there's much, much more we can do. And by that, he effectively means we can clamp down on China because China holds the key to North Korea. And China does a lot of business with us. If we threaten to no longer do business with China or to curtail that business with China, maybe they'll start listening and exercise a little muscle on North Korea. Joining me right now, Moody's chief economist, John Lonski, with his thoughts on that. Good to see you, John.
Same here.
Why haven't we done this? I mean, is it really about the money that China represents?
Oh, definitely. And let's not forget what you mentioned earlier, the fact that Apple has these manufacturing facilities in China. There is a very close relationship between many U.S. companies and China in terms of how U.S. companies design, market their products in the United States, but manufacture them in China, then send them back to the United States, rest of the world.
So they are very important to us economically. And as such, we haven't been quite so willing, although things may be changing right now as a result of Kim Jong-un, to exercise our power, to exercise our might.
I would think North Korea is a special situation. You don't want to resort to military intervention until you reach the end. It's a last resort.
And we haven't even scratched the surface, really, in terms of the economic sanctions we can do.
Correct. And if what squeezing North Korea calls for is China no longer providing North Korea with oil, then that perhaps has to be done. And I'm pretty sure that eventually there's some way the U.S. and China can work out a deal of this particular
But what if
sort.
we take it a step further and we say, OK, China, if you don't put the necessary pressure on Kim Jong-un to change his regime, we're not going to let Apple do business with you. What happens then, John?
Oh, that's pretty strong. And that would be difficult for Apple and difficult for U.S. consumers. I think this is a step-by-step process. And if China's unwilling to cut off trade with North Korea, then perhaps we have to escalate
But I'm not
matters.
signaling out Apple. I'm signaling out every single business that does. In other words, we're sanctioning one Chinese bank, right? Why not sanction a whole lot more? And why not? I mean, that's last resort, perhaps, but I would certainly rather lose dollars, John,
and
than
you
lives.
would pay for that in the United States also. So we have to be willing to incur part of the cost that's involved here. Now, consumers would be hurt by that. If you had fewer imports coming from China, consumer prices would be higher.
I know. But you know what? This guy has signaled he means business. And I'll tell you, we mean business, and there's a whole lot we can do. So China, everyone should be looking to China for the key on that. Put the pressure on China.
The U.S., I guess, wants China to be a bigger player in terms of helping to achieve global stability.